good evening, good night, and welcome to another episode of Day and Night Cricket, where we literally talk cricket day and night. We've been away for a little while, but we are back now with some fairly hot topics on the agenda. We have with us here this evening Kurt, the facts guru, and Kyle, the stats guru. And we're gonna dive into some.
So which guru are you?
I'm just the
For
guru.
real?
I don't know, man.
Jeez, oh boy.
Yeah, well, we're gonna dive into some fairly hot topics now going around the Caribbean. As it relates to West Indies cricket, we can also take a look at this upcoming series against South Africa. We even had a T20 squad being announced, I think, for that. I'm not sure if it was only for that series or if it was for all three. But yeah, we can take a look at some stuff that's been happening in and around West Indies cricket. So good night, gents. How's everybody doing?
Good night.
All right, man.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So let's jump in right off the bat with one of the topics that's sure to be on everyone's lips these days, and that is the topic of these retainer contracts for the 2021-2022 year or season. Let's start with the guys that do have contracts or that have been awarded contracts. In the all format contracts category, there's Jason Holden, which I don't think comes as any surprise. He's been probably our most consistent player for quite some time now. No surprises there. In the red ball category, there's our test captain, Craig Brathwaite, Jermaine Blackwood, newcomer Nkrumah Bonner, Raheem Cornwall, another newcomer in Joshua De Silva, Shannon Gabriel, a third newcomer in Kyle Mears, and Kemar Roach. And in the white ball format, the white ball contracts, we have Kyron Pollard, Fabian Allen, Darren Bravo, Shea Hope, Akil Hossein, Evan Lewis, Alzari Joseph, Nicholas Puran, and Hayden Walsh Jr. So before we get into the part that I think is going to be more biting, which is the guys who have lost their contracts, let's take a look at some of the guys that we have here in the contract segments who have gained contracts, I should say. Any surprises stand out to you guys in the red ball versions?
I think that the red ball version was more the straightforward picks for me. Obviously I had Jason and Craig, our most consistent cricketer, as you said, our most consistent performer. Craig, the captain. Blackwood been performing pretty well over the last couple of years, even though he was a little lean in 2021 so far. Bonner, De Silva, Mears for sure, deserving from he recently concluded Bangladesh and what was the last tour?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka tours. Yeah, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka tours, you know. There's so many better performers. So I don't think they had any surprises there. I think that the surprises mainly came in white ball format.
Right, okay. Before you jump in here, Kurt, just let me say that we do not know the criteria for these contracts. We have not been privileged with that information. So all of what we discuss here is basically what we would call fan talk, because we have no prior knowledge of these contracts and what goes into receiving one and what can cause a guy to lose one. We may speculate, but we really have no idea. So yeah, Kurt. Any surprises for you in the red ball format before we jump into the white ball?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the major surprise that persons may have, or rather question that persons may have is when you bring up a name like Ralston Chase. I know that his performances may not have necessarily been, massive, or probably expected. But to see the guy go from an all formats contract to no contract, I suppose that you might ask the question as to how that would have happened, right? If there were a certain amount of contracts that were available, then we could understand. But it does bear the question as to how he was forgotten in this list, given that he was just the vice captain. Other than that, in the red ball, I don't see any surprises.
All right. Before we jump into that Roston debate, because that's going to come when we discuss the guys who don't have contracts, a few names down there that may raise an eyebrow or two. Let's look at the white ball contracts. You can start off, Kurt. Any surprises for you in this white ball format?
Well, the white ball format contracts, that is a little bit more questionable for me. I'm looking at the list, and I'm thinking about the criteria. So as you rightfully disclaimed earlier, we don't necessarily know what the criteria is. So I looking at the list and I basing it on performance, and then things like fitness, things like perceived commitment and that kind of stuff may have to come into play. Um, so I look at a name like Hayden Walsh, and I'm not really sure what his role has been recently, and what the role that they do have planned for him. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. I know one that has been vented about publicly is the exclusion of Hetmeyer, and additionally the inclusion of Darren Bravo. But Bravo just made a century in the recently concluded one-day series, so I suppose that will fulfill his inclusion in future teams for a while. But having said that, Hetmer's stats, even though that I I tend to get down on Hetmer because I believe he could do a lot better. His stats in white ball cricket don't really suggest a man that may not have a contract. So you have to question if things like fitness issues or a perceived lack of commitment may have come in to that. But other than that, there are no real surprises for me when I look at the list. Other than that, no.
Right, okay. Let's also bear in mind
I had a little bit.
that I can let you jump in here, Kyle, right now. But let's
Yeah.
also bear in mind that not having a contract doesn't automatically mean not selected. Huh? It just means that you're not contracted. You don't have a contract. And some may even argue that that may work to the benefit of the player because when there are these other lucrative leagues around, he may not feel obligated to stay. But that's a different line of questioning altogether. But yes, Kyle,
True.
jump into the white ball contracts. I mean, for me, Kurt mentioned Hayden Walsh, but the glaringly obvious question mark in this white ball contract list to me personally has to be Fabian Allen. Maybe you could start there and then expand on the others.
I feel like honestly, I feel like Hayden is more of a question mark than Fabian Allen. I don't think that Hayden's
Or
played
they,
as many games as Fabian Allen. Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think that Hayden is. We know for sure that Fabian Allen is gonna be a sure pick for the T20 World Cup. We know that already. He's gonna be one of our main all
but
rounders, especially
We are going to struggle in
with
the
the
T20 World
ball.
Cup if that's the case. It
I
is going to be a
well,
very,
we
very
already
hard
to be
struggle.
you know how I feel about the T20 team. You know how I feel. The T20 team is our weakest team. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But you know, Finn Allen is one of the men that they have earmarked to be one of our leading T20 cricketers going forward. You know, you could tell to me from the performances in the recently concluded series, he'd be working on his game, especially with his bowling. You know, his feeling is always at a certain standard. So I don't really rate him with the back, but you know, he has the back end there. To be hidden is the more the guy that looking a little shaky there. You know, I think that he had a good CPL 2 years ago.
CPL, yeah.
Yeah, he had a good CPL 2 years ago. I think he kind of still riding on that form, on those memories. He hasn't really played much games with West Indies. He hasn't in the games I've seen him. He hasn't bowled particularly well. He bowls a lot of bad balls, and that's not gonna bowl well for him in the T20 World Cup if he doesn't make the squad. Because obviously he does is a different quality of cricket at that level. The batsmen don't miss out at that level on bad balls. So and also they can be small boundaries, whatever, whatever. So you know it can be, as you say, it can be a tough struggle for us. But other than that, I don't think that there are any surprises outside of Hetty, of course. And you may say it's a surprise, but at the same time, um, for the West Indies, he hasn't played many games. Over he hasn't played. He didn't play in 2020 at all, and he hasn't played in 2021 so far. So I think that is definitely a contributing factor. His weight has definitely been an issue. The weight gain has definitely been an issue, and he didn't really have a great 50 over tournament for Guyana. It was good, but it wasn't great. So in terms of pushing to get that contract, I don't know if he did enough. I don't know if he turned down the contract because that's also a possibility that we don't know if that might be the case. I mean, maybe if he did, they might have brought it out, but I think it's definitely a possibility. As you said, with the different T20 leagues and what's not around the world, it definitely might be an interesting player to turn down contract. You never know.
Interesting there as well. I am not um advocating for the definite inclusion of Hayden Walsh in this contract list. That is not where I was going with this
Yeah.
at all. However, I am very much surprised, more so surprised to see Alan. To be honest, I maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my personal view, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see him playing many
You could
50
tell,
over
right?
games for West Indies, and I think we got pinch hitters a dime a dozen that could come in at the back end and swipe. I really don't think we need another one.
You could tell that. You could tell that him and Aki Hussein have been the two guys that have been the two younger fellas, two spitballing all rounders that the West Indies have earmarked to be the fellas to go for it. Because those are the guys they carry to Bangladesh and recently concluded Sri Lanka as the main options. You know that Fabian Allen can be going to the World Cup. You know that he can be one of the main spin options there. So I don't see why, if that's the case, it would be shocking for Fabian Allen to get a contract.
It can
Yeah,
be
the
shocking.
problem is
Fabian
that
Allen has been
uh,
playing consistently,
yeah,
and to
Exactly.
me, the man, I mean, he does not necessarily. I could understand your view that he may not necessarily excel as a batsman, and he may not necessarily excel as a bowler. But to me, he's a pretty good utility player to have. He has won games for the West Indies. Let's not forget that. And he had contributed to, I think it was the game that in the World Cup. I don't remember what he scored, but he had contributed quite mightily. I believe it's the game that Carlos Bradford also made some runs. But in any event, he contributed mightily with the bat in that game as well. I don't think that Fabian Allen should be a surprise, and certainly he would walk
Yeah.
into this list to me ahead of Akil Hussein.
Yeah. And I offer contracting younger players, man. the whole point of contract is for you to have control of your players, to know what they're doing on a daily, monthly basis, to have eyes, to be in control of their development. If he is a guy that you earmark, Fabian Allen is the man that we moving forward with, I don't see why not.
Well, I am going to just agree to disagree because we will spend the whole night on this topic. Because as Kurt just said, if you're not expecting him to excel with the bat and you're not expecting him to excel with the ball, are you picking him to field? I don't know. But I'll just agree to disagree on this Fabian Allen topic. and, and, and we are
T20 is a
going to
different game. T20 is a different game.
we are going to discuss we're going to discuss the guys who have not received or retained contracts, which will spark some more debate, I suspect. In the non-receiving category, to me, the glaring omission is Roston Chase. Um, he has gone from an all-format contract to a no-format contract. Um, I I don't know. To me personally, and again, just my opinion, I believe that Roston offers a lot in terms, especially in a West Indies team, in a red ball team. He can bring balance to the side. He can allow you to play another bowler. He can uh, he can allow you the option of an extra batter, extra batsman, all those kind of things to me. And yes, he's had a lean 2020, was it? But leading up to that lean spell in 2020, Roston had been one of West Indies' most consistent batsmen. Um, he had been one of the more dependable ones leading up right up to 2020 when he had that lean spell, in my opinion. And I'm just very surprised that he is not being given a contract any at all. I in saying that he also had an issue with the failed fitness test. I don't know if that's a factor in the contracts as well, because again we are speculating here. We don't know. Um, so maybe fitness came into it as well. I don't know. But what do you guys think around the omission of Roston from any contract at all? Kurt gave a little snippet before, so I can let you start with it, Kyle.
Oh yes. Yeah, obviously Roston would have been one of the big surprises, obviously, because he would have been the vice captain of the test team. Well, Jason was the captain. I was just looking for some stats there on Roston actually to see if I could justify my my point in that I don't necessarily think that he is absolutely deserving of a contract. We said that Roston, it was okay. Roston does provide balance. He provides the opportunity to play the extra batsman. He provides the opportunity to play the extra bowler. But when we look at where he bats in test, say number 5, that's his primary position. Um, over 2019, from 2019, 1st of January 2019 to today, Ralston has played 11 tests, 20 innings, 408 runs, average of 21. We know that ain't good enough. That ain't good enough. Over a 2-year span, as a number 5 batsman in a test team, you go be scoring more runs. And now when we look around the world at the frontline batsmen in the world, top 5, obviously the bulk of the runs supposed to be coming from them. I think that you got to do a little bit better than that to be absolutely deserving of a contract. The ball, you don't have the stats with the ball, but Rosson is primarily a batsman, and he's picked to score runs first and foremost, and he will offer something with the ball, but at the end of the day, the stats don't lie. You know what I mean? Average of 21 behind number 5, you got to give me a little bit better than that. He would not be given a contract in any other test side averaging 21 over the last 2 years. So that's it for me.
Mhm. Kurt, what say you?
Those are very valid points. Very valid points. I always say that Ralston has underperformed. And to me, he has not necessarily been a consistently producing batsman. What he has done is produce at times, at very timely intervals. Let me put it that way. And we remember the times that he produces
Right.
because they are like back to the wall situations. And for that, I rate him because he clearly has character. But Ralston had been struggling technically for a little while. A top five batsman, I think he gets his stumps rattled a little bit too often for my liking. And don't get me wrong, because I am a big fan of Ralston Chase. I believe that he has the goods, and perhaps this is why I mark him harshly. Well, according to stats, it may not be harshly, but I believe that he should be averaging at least 35 in this cricket, honestly. And if he, as Kyle said, if he's going to be primarily a batsman, he has to produce better than that.
I would I would like the stats guru to give me a comparative between Mr. Chase and Mr. Blackwood for that period of time, for the same period of time. Um,
No problem.
however, and again, Kurt mentioned that he takes Ross, I guess his stumps hit a bit too regularly. I don't think anybody Wesley's side get a stump hit more than Jermaine Blackwood. But again, that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. But
All right, so for the same time, Blackwood 10 innings, 624 runs, average of 32. I mean, it's not magnificent, it's not show stopping, but at the end of the day, a little bit Kurt,
a little bit
a
better,
little bit
right?
above the bar.
Uh,
A little bit better, a little bit better. It's show stopping, but a little bit better. So and added on to that, as we all know, you had the whole situation with the Bangladesh tour.
Yeah.
You
mhm.
know, added to that, added to the
Well,
fact that he averaged 21. I don't know if it was a fallout with the board. I don't know what it is that had that. And then there was the whole fitness test issue. So
mhm.
you can, if you're performing, you go give in some other areas. And I don't know if it's the case where he wasn't giving in other areas.
But what was very interesting about that, though he was underperforming for a while as a batsman, he was rewarded with the vice captaincy, right? So the signaling is a little bit mixed because you can't, in my view, on one hand, rewarding with the vice captaincy, clearly he has goods.
Mhm.
And then as soon as he does not go to Bangladesh, then he's stripped of vice captaincy and contract. That's a bit of mixed signaling, but to the whole point, you still have to earn your way.
Definitely.
Right, so
Definitely.
that moves us on to the other big name, quote unquote, that has not gotten a contract, which is Shimron Hetmeyer. Do we make the same argument for Hetmeyer as was made against Roston?
For, I think yeah, I think the same principle applies. You gotta give if you're in performing, if you're giving the goods, you gotta show some sort of commitment to the cricket. Not that I have my ensuring commitment to the cricket in general, but to West Indies cricket. You know what I mean? He hasn't been amazing for the West Indies. He's been amazing for Ghana Amazon Warriors. He's been pretty good at the IPL, but for the West Indies cricket, you gotta give a little bit more. I think you gotta keep yourself in shape. That's for sure. Primary man, come on, you gotta keep yourself in shape as a professional. I think that's inexcusable. So Hetty, I can't argue. I can't argue for Hetty. I love Hetty. You know what I mean? I love Hetty like Kurt. I love Puran. I can't. I can't. But I can't put an argument to say that he must have a contract. Great talent, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you gotta show some sort of commitment to yourself and to the cricket. And he hasn't done that. So
Kurt, your thoughts on Hetmeyer and the contract issues?
Well, I would be basically echoing Kyle, to be honest. I mean, it's clear what talent Hetmer has, and for me, he needs to be able to not only stay fit, but he has to be able to produce more consistently. And this is for the West Indies. He definitely does have to. And when you hear the sound bites that come around from let's look at Pollard. Pollard said the other day that basically saying that Hetmeyer has to be able to produce. He has the ability to produce in all three formats. And the guys love him and they believe that he has the ability to be a game changer. But he did make the statement that, you can, an empire, and I'm not quoting him, but he did state that you can carry a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Those are telling words from the white ball captain.
True.
So clearly, the mandate is there and the challenge is there for Hetmeyer to work a little bit harder, produce a little bit more, and he will get everything that he wants in this game.
Correct.
So let's look at the other guys that have missed out on contracts. In the red ball format, we have Brooks and Dowrich. I don't think those are huge surprises. Again, given form and given the Bangladesh fallout as well. It's probably not a fallout, but the Bangladesh situation. Um, given given those two things, I don't think there are any huge surprises there around Dowrich and Brooks. And what must also be mentioned is that it's not a case where these guys, Roston included, it's not a case where these guys have not gone to Bangladesh and the guys that went didn't perform and were given contracts. The guys that went did perform and were rightfully rewarded. So from that point of view, I have absolutely no issue with saying that you should reward guys and you should have to play, you should have to earn your play in the team. So from that perspective, I have no issue with the guys. If it is a case where there's a set number of contracts and you have this quota to fulfill, well then the guys that forfeited their spots on the team going to Bangladesh, rightfully so, now have to earn it back. So I have no arguments or no qualms with that at all. In the white ball contract segments for the guys that have lost their contracts, we see Sunil Ambris, to me not a big surprise. Sheldon Cottrell, again not a big surprise. Hetmeyer we discussed. Brandon King, not surprising to me. Kimo Paul, who I thought at one point West Indies were backing to be, one of their next big all-rounders. But again, not a huge surprise there again. Rovman Powell, not a huge surprise to me. Romario Shepherd and O'Shane Thomas, again, not very big surprises to me at all. Any of those names jump out at you guys as to guys that should have been thought about or guys that should have even retained contracts? Kurt, you can go first.
No, I guess the one that comes closest would be Cottrell because he usually finds a place in selection. Outside of this last series here, he usually finds a place. But other than that, I don't think that anybody in this list here has really put their hand up to be selected. I mean, Paul was injured, so that was a little bit unfortunate, but no surprises. No surprises.
Yeah,
Any?
same. No,
Yeah.
no real surprises. It's just that to me, it's a lot of young fellas. You know what I mean? It's not great to see a lot of young fellas within the contract. I mean that the performances aren't really there because obviously West Indies would have invested some amount of time into each of these guys here. But I think they still have time. You know what I mean? They still have the opportunity to go back and work and come back stronger. this year, next year, whenever it may be. So I don't think it's a huge issue for any of these guys. And some of them will still be in contention for some of the overseas leagues like Kimo and Rothman and O'Shane or whatnot. So I think the fellas could go way over and come back stronger.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Before we move into another segment, let's just quickly, while we're on the topic, look at the T20 squad for the home series against South Africa, Australia, and Pakistan. Any surprises in that squad? I'll go through it quickly. Kyron Pollard, captain. Nicholas Puran, vice captain. Fabian Allen, Dwayne Bravo, Sheldon Cottrell, Fidel Edwards, Andre Fletcher, Chris Gale, Shimron Hetmeyer, Jason Holder, Akil Hussein, Evan Lewis, Obed McCoy, Andre Russell, Lyndall Simmons, Kevin St. Clair, O'Shane Thomas, and Hayden Walsh Jr. Any any um any points for discussion in that side?
I think that the only thing for me is I am not convinced with Fidel. I am not convinced with Fidel errors at all. I don't know. The West Indies obviously have a plan. They obviously want to give him another opportunity to see what he has before the World Cup. I think that the same applies with Andre Fletcher. I think that he may be fortunate because he's the second keeper. To be honest, I think they probably want to give him an opportunity to perform. But other than that, I think that is pretty straightforward for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I will have to agree with you there, Kyle. You know, Fletcher finds a way to retain his place. And I guess that, his positivity and his team spirit lends a lot to that. And you need those sort of characters in them too. And truthfully, we love him to come good with the back and
True.
and earn a place in the squad and push some of the other guys. Other than that, I mean, there's no major eye opener there. When you mentioned about Fidel, I think that Fidel's selection has to do with the role that they have outlined because clearly they have a role for an impact bowler, and that is where O'Shane Thomas and Fidel Edwards will fit in. So at least Fidel might be able to push O'Shane, and perhaps vice versa. But I mean, he got him because O'Shane was unavailable in the last series. I believe that's what it was. So by rights now, Fidel might be the incumbent and O'Shane might have to push in. So I don't have a difficulty with Fidel. I mean, he's very experienced. He's still quick, and he's fit. And that's all we wanted from Fidel for a long time. So I don't have a problem with him pushing the other bowlers.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair point.
On the Fidel issue, I kind of agree with Kurt here. I I can see maybe that kind of impact bowler, as you said, Kurt, that they're looking for. Um, and maybe right now I trust Fidel to do it a little bit more than I trust O'Shane to. Um, Given the
Yeah.
experience of Fidel and given the
Mhm.
the lack of inexperience of O'Shane, I think that's probably where West Indies were looking with that one. Again, just all speculation. But what I want to talk about quickly here is Chris Gale. Um, we saw in the Sri Lanka series. Now, again, you guys know that if there's one person on the earth that will put the universe boss in any team, it is me. But we've seen we've seen in the Sri Lanka series this kind of trial of Gale batting at three for West Indies. He's done it pretty well in the IPL. Um, but it hadn't worked out for West Indies. It's not a road that they're going to go again with Gale at three, maybe Hetty at four, Puran at five, something like that. I don't know. How do you guys see it? Or will he go back to the top of the order and then that means either Evan or Lendl drop out or down the order? there's the Andre Fletcher in the team debate as well. What do you guys think quickly in about 2 minutes?
It's hard to not pick Chris Gill. That's the truth. That's all it is. It's hard to not pick Chris Gill. I think that if he plays, he bats at three. I think that if he plays, he bats at three. Evan Lewis and Simmons could probably open up. If there's any opportunity for Chris Gill to open the innings, because then Simmons probably in performing, Chris Gill slots in, and then Hetmeyer comes in at three. Maybe Hetty come back four. I don't see a problem with that. Right now, flexibility is good for us. I think that we got the talent, so it's a good issue to have.
Kurt,
Yeah.
quickly.
And I also think that Gale needs a longer audition to that role for the West Indies. I mean, he played with three 2020s, T20s. And I'm not sure that we could discard him after three T20s in that role just like that. I think he earned a longer role.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Pretty
Again,
straightforward. Yeah, we know this is the team that can go to the World Cup, so it's just an audition for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, get to the games.
yeah. Again, I am all for Chris Gill. I if you pick a space 11, I won't put Gill in it. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes in this upcoming T20 series against these three sides.